Hey everyone, Nick here and welcome back to GamerTube, and welcome back to our Poppy Playtime character concept series. So in today's video, the character we're looking into is Daddy Longlegs. So we'll look into this character's possible location, gameplay mechanics, backstory, and all that good stuff as well. And as always, I will just state, we aren't stating that this character will be included in Chapter 2, this is just a fun what if scenario and a fun creepy story we get to tell, and we hope you enjoy. And lastly, do be sure to subscribe to GamerTube as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. It also keeps you up to date with the videos that we post. Alrighty everyone, well, let's get into the character concept of Daddy Longlegs. So far in our What Could Be in Chapter 2 series, we've explored all the characters that we've seen in the Chapter 2 trailer, including the purple caterpillar, the mini huggy wuggies, and the flower. But above all, the main character we looked into was the newly introduced Mummy Longlegs. Our protagonist encountered this spider-like creature and lived to see another day. After they faced Mummy Longlegs in the final battle, they electrified all their collected toys and set fire to their web. They took this opportunity to escape through the emergency hatch. They safely escaped from Mummy Longlegs. But what else waits for them ahead? So now our protagonist continues through the vent into the next area of the factory. They've finally left that horrible Mummy Longlegs behind, but they can still see spider webs here and there scattered throughout the vents. As they exit the vents, they now find themselves in the printing and packaging area of the factory. This is where they would print all the custom packaging for all of the toys. As they venture through this area, they can see a number of empty boxes stacked up all over the place. It was strange. They were stacked in neat little pyramids, almost like someone had set them up on purpose. Whilst looking at all the stacks of boxes, they accidentally bumped into one of the stacks in front of them. The boxes tumbled all over the floor, making a sound much louder than a bunch of boxes should make. Then, right before them, a large blue arm reaches down. Then another. And another. The player quickly hides behind some machinery. As they peek around and get a look, they can see the large blue creature hanging from the ceiling. And hanging there before them was Daddy Longlegs. This was the other twisted variation of the Mummy Longlegs doll. Except they had 4 arms and they were larger than Mummy. On their head was a black fedora hat, a big moustache on their face, and a mouth filled with razor-sharp teeth. The creature picked up one of the boxes and crushed it in their hand. It seems that they are the one who set up all these piles of boxes to alert them of any intruders. If anyone was to knock them over, then Daddy Longlegs would swoop down and grab them quickly. So the player needs to make their way slowly through this area. They need to be careful not to knock over any of the boxes. As they get further down, they look up and see Daddy Longlegs. They were asleep in another large web similar to Mummy's. The player continues forward and sees in front of them a number of motion sensors. These were new. They haven't come across these contraptions before. Tied to each of them was a cymbal clapping monkey. If the motion sensors get triggered, then the toy monkeys would start to make a racket. On either side of the motion sensors was a flashing red light. On some sensors they would flash from side to side, or have both sides active. These were the ones that they needed to deactivate. On the wall closest to the player was a malfunctioning power box. The player could use their green GrabPack hand to collect the energy and then overload the sensors. The player would have to be extra quiet whilst doing this as not to wake the sleeping Daddy Longlegs. If they extended their GrabPack too many times, the sound would wake him and he would strike the player. So the player proceeds to collect the energy and disable the sensors. As they make their way through the minefield of sensors, they only have a couple left. The player looks up at the spiderweb and notices Daddy Longlegs isn't there anymore. Where could they have gone? The player needs to move quickly before they're captured by this frightening creature. They deactivate the last motion sensor and make their way through another conveyor hatch at the end of the room. As they made it inside, finally they were safe. Or so they thought. So they make their way through the conveyor and the large blue hands break through the walls. All of them break through and try to grab the player. The player needs to quickly make their way through this conveyor vent and avoid getting grabbed. They hurry through as Daddy Longlegs peers at them through the holes. The player finally reaches the end of the conveyor belt and exits through the hatch. The second they do, they get snatched up by one of the blue hands. Daddy Longlegs holds the player up to their face. But before they devour them, the player notices right above the creature's head is a hot extrusion nozzle. At the last second, the player activates the nozzle as piping hot liquid plastic pours all over Daddy Longlegs' head. They let go as the player as they fall to the ground. The player soon realizes where they are. They've now found themselves in the molding room. This is where they shape all the hard plastic parts for all the toys. As they look back up at Daddy Longlegs, they can see the molten hot plastic has melted their hard plastic and rubberized body. When the player fell, they landed on the plastic vat platform. This is where they stored all the vats filled with molten plastic. This is now the last stretch that the player has to make it through. They need to use their GrabPack and swing across the vats and escape from the disfigured Daddy Longlegs. As they swing across, the melted creature frantically chases after them. The player swings from vat to vat, narrowly escaping their grabbing hands. They finally reach the emergency exit doors. Just as they exit, one of the hands extends and keeps the door shut. The player turns around and sees Daddy Longlegs staring right at them. Just before they strike, the player grabs onto a vat above its head and pours the whole load of molten plastic over their body. It melts away their limbs as they fall into the vat below. The arm remains on the door. The player grabs it and tosses it aside. They exit through the doors and venture towards the next area of the factory. Hopefully this will be the last creepy creature they run into. But if our protagonist has learned anything by now, that won't be the case. Alrighty everyone, well that's all we have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, please consider leaving a like, commenting and subscribing, as it helps out a lot and it's greatly appreciated. Let us know in the comment section down below what you thought of Daddy Longlegs and what you'd like to see going forward. Alrighty everyone, well until the next video, I'll catch you later, bye.